Most people believe when someone runs out of oxygen underwater, the body panics. But for divers, the opposite often happens. The brain gives no warning. There is no feeling of suffocation, no alarm. What appears instead is calm. And in that moment, many divers don't realize they are dying. Underwater, the human body behaves very differently. On land, when oxygen levels drop, the lungs immediately send a warning. The chest tightens. Panic rises. The body forces itself to breathe. But at depth, that system doesn't always work. The problem isn't the lack of air. The problem is the lack of oxygen reaching the brain. When oxygen levels decrease slowly, the brain doesn't recognize it as a threat. There is no pain, no strong warning. What fails first is judgment. A diver can still move, still see, still feel fine. But in reality, brain function is already declining. Decisions become slower. Awareness narrows. Time feels distorted. This condition is called hypoxia, a state where the brain is deprived of oxygen without informing its owner. Many divers describe it not as fear, but as calm. As if everything slows down, as if nothing is wrong. And that is exactly what makes it dangerous, because when the brain stops warning you, the body no longer tries to save itself. Beneath the surface, calm is not a sign of safety. Very often, it is the final sign. Most people assume running out of oxygen always feels like drowning, burning lungs, a screaming chest, the body fighting for air. But for many divers, that never happens, because the feeling of suffocation is not triggered by low oxygen. It is triggered by rising carbon dioxide. Underwater, a diver is still exhaling. Carbon dioxide continues to leave the body. What slowly disappears is oxygen, and the body doesn't notice. As long as carbon dioxide does not build up, there is no alarm, no sense of urgency. Breathing still feels normal, even though the air reaching the brain is no longer enough. This is why many divers don't realize they are in danger. They don't feel out of breath. They only feel tired. Movement becomes heavy. Thoughts slow down. Focus fades. And in that moment, small mistakes begin to happen. One delayed decision. One unnecessary movement. 1 second too long. At depth, the body doesn't always scream when danger arrives. Very often, it stays silent. As oxygen levels drop and the brain begins to lose clarity, the first thing to fail is not the body. It is judgment. The diver is still conscious, still moving, still feeling in control. But their perception is no longer complete. Distances feel shorter than they are. Time feels stretched. Risk feels smaller. Under normal conditions, a diver would ascend, would stop, would abort the dive. But in this state, the brain says, it's still fine. 1 meter deeper, 1 minute longer, 1 extra movement. These mistakes seem minor, often unnoticed. But underwater, every small error comes at a high cost. Strength begins to fade, coordination declines, movements lose precision, hands miss, direction slips, reactions slow. And when the diver finally realizes something is wrong, very little time remains. At depth, there is no room for hesitation, no second chance. Because the greatest danger underwater is not panic. It is the false belief that everything is still under control. At a certain point, the body can no longer compensate. Oxygen levels fall below what the brain needs to stay awake. Vision begins to narrow. Edges darken. Sounds feel distant. The diver may still be moving, but those movements are no longer deliberate. They are automatic. Muscle memory takes over, while awareness slips away. This is the most dangerous phase, because there is no pain, no panic, no clear signal that consciousness is about to disappear. Many divers report a sense of detachment, a floating feeling, almost like drifting. The brain is shutting down, not with resistance, but with silence. And then, control is lost. Hands relax. Posture collapses. Breathing becomes irregular. At depth, even a brief loss of consciousness is enough. The body sinks. Equipment becomes weight. Time runs out. There is no struggle, no dramatic movement. Just a quiet transition from awareness to nothing. Underwater, death is rarely loud. It happens when the mind finally lets go. What makes these moments so unsettling is not how dramatic they are. It's how quiet they are. There is no fight, no final realization, no heroic last action. Just a gradual fading that feels almost peaceful. This is why the ocean is dangerous, not because it is violent, but because it is indifferent. It does not warn you. It does not rush you. It simply waits. And by the time the danger becomes obvious, it is often too late to react. Understanding this is not about fear, it is about respect. Because beneath the surface, nature does not adapt to us. We adapt to it, or we don't survive it. This channel exists to explore what happens when humans push into environments that were never meant for us. Not to sensationalize tragedy, but to understand it. If you want to explore more stories about water, depth, and the moments where survival quietly fails, subscribe to the channel. This is Water Ends, and beneath the surface, every decision matters.